All right, happy Friday, everyone. Still a quick sound check here in the free room and over on YouTube. And just like that, guys, another week in the books. Pretty normal week, right? Not too much to write home about. Nvidia's up 30%. Tesla's up 7% today. Netflix is up 5.5%. I think AMD's up 25% this week. So some crazy action. And we're getting some decent profits starting to roll in here on a couple of our swing trades. Picked up some Apple this morning. We got some Netflix that we're working. We got some Tesla, all kinds of good stuff. But today, my friends, is the third and the final installment of our squeeze session. The trilogy comes to an end. So a couple weeks ago in lesson 1, we talked about the basics of the squeeze, the thinking behind it, the beauty of it. And then last week we talked about the nested squeeze. So here's another good example of that nested squeeze. So old Netflix, a couple weeks ago, prints a squeeze on the daily chart. That daily squeeze was nested inside of a squeeze here on the 2-day time frame. That bad boy was coiled up inside the 3-day squeeze, and the 3-day squeeze coiled up here in the weekly squeeze. So what we're looking for is that domino effect. The daily squeeze is fired. The 2-day and the 3-day squeezes are fired. From here, if they can trigger the weekly squeeze to fire long, I think we're pushing towards that 400 level, right back up here towards the weekly 200 SMA, just right around that 404, 405. So from lesson 1 and lesson 2, all right, we know the power of that nested squeeze dynamic. A squeeze is a compression phase. The market or the stock is gearing up energy, right, getting ready for that next big explosive push. And if you can find that moment in time on 1, 2, 3, 4 time frames at once, you can get some pretty powerful stuff. But the $1 million question, of course, is how do we know to get long or short? All right, squeeze leads to a big move. As a trader, how do we gauge? All right, well, I found a bunch of nested squeezes here in Netflix. Do I look to get long or get short? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And yes, that's the pro version of the squeeze, where you have your 3 different compressions: the low compression, mid compression, and the high compression. But as far as trying to call for direction, guys, all right, and here's where we're going to talk about additional indicators. The major focus is just path of least resistance. If you can find a squeeze where the bigger picture on that time frame across multiple time frames is to the upside, then of course you look to play that squeeze long. Vice versa for a short. And to me, the 2 things that play a role in path of least resistance is structure and momentum. So momentum is pretty simple. Right? Is momentum bullish or is it bearish? And then structure is like your backbone. So to keep using the rocket ship analogy, the momentum is your fuel, and then the structure kind of determines how well is this rocket put together. So as far as momentum goes, all right, a little tip for y'all here. So today we're going to talk about the big 3 indicator, all right, which is my personal buy and sell signals. That's my path of least resistance tool. But the momentum part of the equation comes from the MACD. All right, so here's what y'all can do. For the momentum ingredient, all right, on Thinkorswim across any other platform, go find your MACD. Okay, we'll add the MACD. And now here's the settings that I use. Fast length of 52, slow length of 24, and a MACD length of 9 with an average type of exponential. So for those of you in the free room here, I'll take a screenshot of that and just put it down in the chat. Actually, I might have that backwards. One momento. Let me see. I don't want to give y'all faulty information here. 24, 52, and 9. I was mistaken. All right, so back to the MACD. My apologies. No, I got it. 24, 52, and 9. All right, so let me take a screenshot. Put that over here in the chat. All right, now as far as the visual of the MACD, here's my advice. There's the value line. I don't want to see that. So I hide the value line. I hide the average. The only thing I'm trying to get from the MACD is the histogram. So for histogram settings, that's going to be over here on the diff. And you can draw it out as bars. You can draw it out as lines. Personally, I'm a fan of the lines. So you want the diff. And then you want the zero line. So we're going to make our zero line, we'll make it white. And now that's going to become your momentum a part of the equation. And it's pretty simple. If momentum is above the zero line, so the green line is above zero, momentum is working in the favor of the. If MACD is under the zero line, that's working in the favor of the bears. So if you go look at Netflix, for example, daily chart prints to squeeze the 2-day, the 3-day. You got the compression part of the equation from left to right. A big part of what pushed the stock higher, a big part of what triggers these squeezes to fire to the upside, was momentum being supportive of that push. Daily squeeze prints. Momentum finally crosses above the zero line shortly after the squeeze fires. And that domino effect happens on your 2-day chart. Inside the squeeze, momentum crosses positive. Momentum in the 3-day squeeze crosses positive. And then if you look at your weekly chart here, momentum's actually been bullish for quite a while. So again, throw on the MACD. Fast length of 24. Slow length of 52. Average type, MACD length of 9. And then average type exponential. And what I'll do for y'all before we wrap it up here is I'll just send you a chart link. Look at Tesla go. How about them apples? I'll send y'all a chart link with the MACD on it. So you actually don't got to worry about getting it set up. But again, two things go into path of least resistance. If I find a squeeze and I'm trying to get a sense of, does this squeeze want to fire long? The MACD line has to be above zero. So the big 3 indicator, that's part of the ingredients. So the buy signal prints in the form of the green bar, the green arrow, and then we got our labels over here. So what that's telling you, the green label, the green bar, the arrow, both of our momentum and our structure requirements are coming together. Meaning we can't print the buy signal if momentum is under that zero line. So that's half the indicator. The other half is the structure. And for structure, you're looking at things like your moving averages. Are we above or below the 50 SMA? Are we above or below the 21 EMA? What about our stacked EMAs? Is the 8 over the 21, 21 over the 34? My suggestion is a good starting point. And maybe Mirza or Lorna can grab the free link for it. Pretty sure we can share it. The stacked EMAs can be a pretty helpful tool. So we'll see if we can share that up. Now, I don't use the original stacked EMAs. It's kind of my own version of it. But those are a few things you can consider for structure. Say you're above your 21 EMA. You're above the 50 SMA. Momentum is above zero. That all kind of leans towards path of least resistance being to the upside. So what I did was I took my momentum requirements, MACD, yada, yada, took my structure requirements. Are we above the 50? Is the 8 above the 21? What about the 5 EMA? Took my bullish criteria, took the bearish criteria, and now when that all comes together, it just prints in the form of a buy or a sell signal. So it's my path of least resistance tool. So Netflix here is obviously pretty freaking strong. Weekly buy signal, a daily buy signal, you're printing that buy signal all the way down to the 5-minute chart. All right, doesn't get any better than that. So what am I looking for when it comes to trading the squeeze? Well, if I'm trying to get long, I'm looking for a squeeze with as many buy signals across as many time frames as possible. Structure comes together, momentum comes together. That tells me that during the compression phase, path of least resistance is leaning to the upside. So the marriage of those two things, all right, what does a squeeze give you? It gives you that moment in time before a big directional move. Our structure, our momentum indicators, the big three, what does that give you? Gives you a really good sense of which way that squeeze should fire. So in terms of following the pretty colors, Netflix prints a squeeze with a green arrow. You got your green bar. So that's a daily bull squeeze. If you ever hear me refer to a bull squeeze, that's what I mean. We have a squeeze and we're cranking out that buy signal. So where that becomes powerful is your daily chart prints a squeeze and a buy signal. The 2-day time frame prints a squeeze and a buy signal, and you're coiled up inside of a huge weekly bull squeeze. It's my favorite swing trade in the world. First the daily squeeze fires, then the 2-day, so on and so on. Then if we're looking for a short, it's the opposite. So we try to find a good example of a short from the scans. Let's go big 3 bear squeeze. Let's see what we got. UNH, Boeing, UMP, GILD. Let's go look at a few of these rascals. GILD. All right, we're printing a squeeze. We're under the 21 EMA. The MACD line is beneath 0. And the rest of our structure requirements are coming together to print the sell signal. So remember, trading is just a probabilities game. Is there a guarantee this daily squeeze fires short? Of course not. But this is the moment in time where you're gearing up for a nice push. And your daily chart, your 2-hour chart, your 1 hour, your 15, your 5-minute, they're telling you path of least resistance is to the downside. So what I've become a huge fan of is kind of this thinking where the daily squeeze just sets the stage for a push. What actually triggers that push is the signals across your lower time frames. So one of our entries this week in Apple. And mind you, Apple does not have Apple does have a daily squeeze. You'll notice, though, there's no daily buy signal. Momentum is under the 0 line. So even though the daily chart's not perfect, what triggered our entry for this push was the 5-minute, the 15-minute, the 30-minute. The bulls start showing up here across all your lower time frames. So even though the daily chart hasn't flipped bullish yet, during that period of consolidation, everything from the ground up telling you path of least resistance to the upside. All right, so how do we find these kinds of setups? So one thing that I've built out is what I call the squeeze radar. So I dump in my personal watch list. We've got columns here for the weekly, the 3-day, the 2-day, the daily, all the way down to the 3-minute. And now what this bad boy does is, say we sort by the weekly chart. If I have a green big 3, 2 things are coming together, a squeeze and a buy signal. The red big 3 is the opposite. So a bull squeeze versus a bear squeeze. So for bull squeezes on your weekly charts, we have the S&Ps, applied materials, and then lows. And y'all know I'm a huge fan of that nested squeeze. So boom, right away here, I can see that the S&Ps have got a nested bull squeeze. Green big 3 on the weekly, green big 3 on the 2-day. That 2-day bull squeeze nested inside of the weekly. How about lows here? Lows has bull squeezes on the weekly, the 3-day, and the daily, the 2-day. right, so I'm probably going to go take a little peek here at lows. Right, kind of piques a fella's interest. So let's go see the 2-day chart. Squeeze into green arrow. The 3-day chart. Squeeze into green arrow. Weekly chart. Squeeze into green arrow. 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks down the road, you could be looking for that domino effect. So big fan of the radar. That's how we found the LRCX trade. That's how we found the Netflix trade. And then even for day trading opportunities, you crank down here to a 15-minute or a 5-minute. Let's see, Roku's got a 5-minute bull squeeze. So if I'm a day trader, that might be all I'm looking for. 2-minute time frame, 3-minute time frame, 5-minute time frame. All right, the same dynamic. We're building up energy. And path of least resistance is to the upside. But being that you're on a smaller time frame, things will happen a little bit quicker. Then the other thing that we're doing here is the scans that we built out. So we got the scans for the bear squeeze, we got a scan for a bull squeeze, and then we got scans for the nested squeezes. So throw a few time frames at me here, guys. What time frame should we look for a bull squeeze on? Squeeze-a-roo and a buy signal. All right, hourly, I can get down with that. All right, hourly. What's cooking? Nothing at the moment. And to be honest with you guys, that's what I'm a big fan of. To me, it's a little bit overwhelming if, our combo, the squeeze and all of our bullish criteria, is coming together left and right every single day. Where my thinking is it's a privilege for a stock to print that hourly buy signal, right? An even bigger privilege for it to do that inside of a squeeze. Are you going to get 100 of them every day? No. Right. Across a few of these lower time frames, you might have 2 to 5 to maybe 10 picks to work with per day. And personally, I'm a fan of that. So nothing on the 1 hour. Now, another big part of that, of course, is nothing is taking a chill pill. Tesla's up 7, Netflix is up 6. So you will get more hourly squeezes when things finally just take a breather. One of these days. How about the 30-minute? "30-minute bull squeeze in our old pal NVIDIA, who just continues to push. Like we talked about last week, though, where's the best entry for a squeeze? Right on top of that daily 21 EMA. So we're always trying to fight for a good entry as well. Let's check out the 15, just out of curiosity. Nothing on the 15. All right, and then if I crank up the nested squeeze scan, big 3 nested bull squeeze. Let's do a daily bull squeeze nested inside of a weekly bull squeeze. Anything out there? Nothing. Let's do weekly and maybe 3-day. Okay. So you go check out Costco. Costco's got the bull squeeze here on the weekly chart. A brand new buy signal, mind you. And more importantly, a fresh tank of gas. Like, that's where you really try to find them. They're right on top of the 21 EMA. The buy signal is brand new. And you're just starting to get that positive shift down here on your MACD. Not 2 weeks later after this thing's been rallying. All right, fresh cross, fresh buy signal, right on top of that 21 EMA. Risk versus reward, guys. If you buy it here, my game plan is I'm putting my stop under the weekly 21. Like, I'm not taking this down to 460. I'm not taking it down to support. I'm banking on the weekly squeeze here working as advertised. All right, the indicator's telling me it's go time. So I can jump in here, buy some calls. I can put my exit under the weekly 21. If the squeeze fire is long, you got a lot more reward there on the other end. That entire dynamic shifts. When you find a squeeze, it's already made that big push away from that weekly 21. So by the time the stock is up here, we're trying to cash out. Nobody wants it down here. That's where we come swooping in. Squeeze begins to fire. You dish off your position to the next guy or girl. So we like the scans, we like the radar. But more importantly, guys, I'm not trying to make this an advertisement for my indicator. Here's what I'm really trying to preach. Whatever your one or two, go-to indicators are, maybe you like the MACD, maybe you like the 10x bars. All right. If you've got a couple of indicators that you would use as your path of least resistance tools, here's what I want you to do this weekend. One good example is the daily squeeze. You got a 3-day weekend coming up, so you got some extra time. I want you to go back and take your structure, take your momentum indicators, go find as many examples of daily squeezes that are fired to the upside as possible. And then what I want you to do is, like LRCX, here's a really, really clean one. Here's what I want you to study. Go find examples of daily squeezes that fired off like this. And then from a 5-minute chart, a 15-minute, a 30-minute, an hourly, take your path of least resistance indicators and study what it looks like from the ground up. And what you'll find is your given indicators tend to do the same thing every time on the 5-minute, on the 15-minute, on the 30-minute, before and during that big push out of your daily squeeze. All right, get really familiar with that pattern recognition. Before a daily squeeze fires to the upside, what should my structure and momentum indicators look like on a 5-minute, on a 15-minute, a 30-minute, like from the ground up? What should things look like? More importantly, find some examples of squeezes that didn't work. All right, a squeeze was setting up, failed to fire to the upside, kind of fell apart. Well, what were my indicators doing back there? And to me, this is just really helpful from two different points of view. One, you become so familiar with what things should look like that when you see an Apple, you see a Netflix, you know it's time to take action. Like, I physically can't not take an entry back here on Netflix. All of the studying I've done of my go-to trade tells me that's as good as it gets. But more importantly, guys, I think you'll help find with. I think it helps with risk versus with risk management. If you know exactly what your indicators should look like on a 5-minute, 15-minute, etc., and then they start to do the opposite, at least on my end, it makes it so much easier to take the trade off. All right, everything's coming together. We got compression, we got squeezes, and my indicators are telling me we should be moving higher. And through all the studying I've done, I know exactly what it should look like. So a good example would be something like TJ Maxx. Coming into the week, TJ Maxx was perfect. Like squeezes, buy signals, just top shelf kind of stuff. So where would I have bought in it? Anywhere back here. Where am I taking that trade off? On that candle right there. I lost my daily buy signal. I'm under the 21. Momentum just starts to shift negative. I don't have to hold it all the way down here. All right? I don't have to find out if we can hold support. That moment in time comes together. We've got one expectation and one expectation only. It should work like Netflix. It should work like LRCX. It should work like Tesla. But as traders and as humans, we like to play the hope and pray game. All right, on Monday, I had everything telling me TJ Maxx should trade higher. By Tuesday afternoon, all of that kind of crapped to bed and disappeared. But I've got 4 weeks to expiration, but I've only got a put credit spread. Wrong kind of thinking. You wait for your shot to line up, right? Wait for that moment in time where you've got as much edge as possible. And then my thinking is be ruthless in taking that trade off if it doesn't do exactly what it should do. And part of that is you might get long on Monday. You might cut the trade off on Tuesday, and then come rolling into Wednesday. It might be perfect again. But you're thinking in terms of risk versus reward. When they work, you get a little something like this. If they don't work, well, guess what? Buying TJ Maxx at the daily 21 EMA, taking it off the following day, a little bit under the 21 EMA, it's a paper cut, right? You're not getting your head torn off. You can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots at it. You finally catch that huge push. You're walking away with a profit. What really sucks is you nailed LRCX, and now TJ Maxx over here is eating into all those profits, where we probably should have closed that trade a few days ago. So again, not an advertisement for my indicator. It's more of an advertisement for take your weapons of choice and then spend a couple hours every night if you can taking your go-to moves and studying them from the ground up. All right, what should my 5-minute chart do if we're really going to take liftoff? 15-minute, 30-minute. I think it all kind of ties it together nicely. So any questions on that, guys and gals, let me know. But a couple squeeze picks for you. Netflix is one of the best names I got right now. Now, I'm not too sure this is the best entry up here at 380. But I think next few weeks here, any flush. And again, it could be a flush back to the 21 EMA. Or when things are really strong, it could be a flush back to the 8 EMA. But wait for a flush, and so long as your weekly chart, and every other time frame for that matter, crank out that buy signal, we should be looking for a breakout here. So I do like Netflix into 400 out of the weekly squeeze, with the 3-day, the 2-day, and the daily already having fired long. I like Apple for continuation higher out of that daily squeeze. And the buy signals are starting to show up here. And then Tesla's just a total nut job. And we're not too far off here from $200. But yeah, Netflix pulls back, strap onto that weekly squeeze, and you see what she's got. And then how could I forget? Mama Market herself. Daily squeeze prints a buy signal. If that fires long, that could trigger the 2-day squeeze of the buy signal to fire long. From there, you finally get the weekly squeeze to fire long as well. That should open up the path here for a pushback towards the August highs. So if we can break here and trigger these squeezes, there should be another, I'd say $100 to $150 in the tank. Not in a straight shot, but that should be the path. So you wait for a dip, you wait for a squeeze, you try to jump in. All looking pretty good for now, guys. Dave Wave. Yeah, Broadcom's another example. Ooh, my goodness. Such crazy stuff this week. So this is what it looks like, guys, when the big money is showing their hand. Big money's got a hard on right now for anything AI related. If you're the CEO of a company announcing earnings, all you got to do is show up to the conference call wearing a hat with the letters AI on it, and like MRVL, your stock goes up 30% the next day. So they are showing their hand for sure. This isn't retail. It's not folks like you and I pushing Microsoft up 50% over the course of a few weeks. So when the big boys want to put some cash to work, it's always pretty impressive just how much they can pump them. It's safe to say that I'm a little bit late here on trying to get an entry in Broadcom. I'm only 200 points late. What a monster. What a monster. Oh God, Aaron, you kidding me? S&Ps would be at 6,000 by Tuesday. Major announcement. The Federal Reserve has been replaced by artificial intelligence. Jerome Powell's out. The robot is in. Yeah, Rodney, good call. I actually wanted to look at shop here before today wrapped up. I do know it came back to the daily buy zone. This could be the launching pad. 5-minute goes bullish, 15-minute goes bullish. You know, when it really comes down to like the ebbs and the flows of it all. On the pullback to the buy zone, 5-minute chart, the 15-minute, 30-minute, your lower time frames go into an uptrend. Then everything kind of chills out, everything kind of goes neutral. And then to get that continuation of that trend, what do we look for? We look for the 5-minute, the 15-minute. We look for all of our lower time frames to go back into an uptrend. What's the best early indication something might want to go into an uptrend? When your structure and your momentum indicators tell you path of least resistance is to the upside. So that's what I'm liking here so far. It's canceled out any sell signal. 5-minute chart flips bullish, 15-minute flips bullish. So from here, if that can continue, next week the 30-minute chart prints a buy signal, then comes the hourly chart. Should bode pretty well here for that continued push off that 21. And more importantly, guys, if you watch your momentum indicators, you watch your structure indicators on that pullback at the 21, if they never start to flip bullish and they never start to turn the corner, you avoid buying something that might just continue to pull back even further. And so always look for that trigger. If you're a fan of buying a dip in an uptrend in a 21 EMA, spend a few hours this weekend studying that exact move. All right, we're pulling back to the 21 EMA. What's my 5-minute chart doing? When we find support at the 21 EMA, what's the 5-minute chart doing? When we rally off that 21 EMA, what's the 5-minute chart doing? If you can become really familiar with what it should look like on the 5, the 15, the 30, like all the way up, I think it's really going to help your game. Right? I've always loved squeezes. I've always, like, the squeeze has always been my thing. But that's where I've taken my own trading to the next level. My daily chart, my weekly squeeze, that might set the stage for a push. Where's my trigger? The triggers, they start down here. And then they work their way up. There was some huge open interest on the 190 calls here for Tesla coming into this week. Whoever it was got paid. They got paid nicely. QQQ up 2.5, 350. My goodness. My goodness. Ben from Puerto Rico. Ben's over there getting all these tax benefits. I'm jealous. And you're getting good weather. I know JC posted a trade here in Wing the other day. Personally, not a fan. Now, based on the one part of the equation that we talked about together, momentum, by default, I can't see that daily squeeze firing to the upside. Here's a daily squeeze. Doesn't do anything to the upside until momentum crosses positive. All right, here's a daily squeeze. Doesn't fire long until momentum crosses that 0 line. So to me, there's the biggest issue. Your squeeze histogram is below 0. The MACD histogram is below 0. Does that mean Wingstop's going to fall apart? No. But you'll find very few examples of daily squeezes that fire long without momentum actually supporting that push. Now let's pretend momentum here was just fine. Above the 0 line, everything checks out. Is that what my lower time frame should look like? The 2-hour time frame prints a big 3 sell signal. The 1 hour and the 30-minute print the sell signal. I've never found one example of a squeeze fire long when my lower time frames are telling me we're going lower. So again, pattern recognition. And for me at this point, it's just color recognition. My daily candles are gray. My multi-time frame labels are red. I can't play that to the upside. What we would have seen back here was the opposite. Inside this daily squeeze, 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, everything telling you we're bullish. That triggers the squeeze to fire long. So for me, this has had to do a little bit of cleanup. All right, let's get north of that 21 EMA. Let's get momentum at least going back towards 0. And then let's get some signs here that our lower time frames want to go back into an uptrend. All right, that's what's happening right here. 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, they're in an uptrend. And not to go off the rails or off topic, one thing I've been noticing is if it's not Google, Amazon, or a semiconductor, it's just not working. Like every weekend I'll run the scans, I'll find some really good stuff. Costco, TJ Maxx, Visa, MasterCard. One from last weekend was Marriott, MAR. They're just not working. So to really tie it together, though, the whole squeeze focus becomes powerful if you can find that squeeze setup in your leadership. All right, where's the big money going? Technology and semiconductors. So my game plan as a trader is pretty simple. I'm going to wait until I find that moment in time where a squeeze and the buy signal are coming together, ideally in one of these names. Just a side note, but that is the world that we're in for now. So Lewis, good question. It depends what time frame I'm trading. So if the core of my trade is a 30-minute squeeze, then the exit would be under the 30-minute 21. If the focus is the daily squeeze, then I'm not going to trip too much if the 30-minute goes under the 30-minute 21. So whatever the time frame of focus is, that's where I would place the exit. I'm going to look for a lower time frame to trigger my daily squeeze long or short. But that 21 EMA, that's going to be the exit. Good question. So for the simpler scanner, I'm a fan of, let's pull those up here together. And I do believe that we're in the process of trying to update some of the scans here on the simpler scanner. So with any luck here, guys, in the not so distant future, I should have all my big 3 scans on the simpler scanner. At least that's my goal. But I'll show you the ones that I'm a fan of. And it kind of fits most of the criteria. So simpler scanner. The focus scans. So daily bullish continuation, bearish continuation, and then a scan for the 3-day time frames. So daily bullish continuation. Kroger, CCJ, United Airlines, Riot. Good amount of results here. So that's a pretty good starting point as far as most of my criteria. But I do hope here in the short term we can get the scans for the actual buy and sell signals from the indicator up on the website. Earl, that's another good question, Earl. At which point does the length of the squeeze, play a big role? So to be honest with you, I actually never count the length of the squeeze. Are we 1 dot in? Are we 3 dots in? 4 dots in? It's just never been something I paid too much attention to. There's times where, like LRCX, for example, like that squeeze can just kind of drag on. This thing's squeezing on the Squeeze Pro since March. Doesn't fire until late May. Then there's times where Tesla, for example, I think gave you a 1 dot squeeze. It gave you a couple of dots earlier in the week. I guess my thinking would be a handful of dots is better than 1. But at the same time, if we're 1 dot in and my buy signals are lining up, I'm probably going to take the shot. Good question, though. I think I don't want to speak for him because I might misquote him, but I think Henry might have a 3 dot kind of rule where at a minimum he wants to see that squeeze for at least 3 days or 3 dots rather, given the time frame. JC, Johnny Carter, is that you? Sneaking in the free room? Johnny Carts himself. All right, JC wants to see some bear squeezes. Bear squeeze. Weekly and the daily. UNH and UMP. So let's see, UNH here. This was bouncing a little bit earlier, but continues to look like a pretty good short. So we got a bear squeeze and a sell signal on the daily chart. And you got a bear squeeze coiled up here on the weekly chart as well. We call that the 2-for-1 combo. 2-for-1 combo. Eric on YouTube and Facebook. What happens Monday if they say no debt deal? Eric, that's probably a really good question. But unfortunately, you're asking the wrong fella. For full transparency, guys, my knowledge of the I mean, really, my knowledge of anything going on outside the charts is close to none. Like, I don't have a deep understanding of the economics, the macro, the micro, the Federal Reserve. So, what happens to the market on Monday if we get no debt deal? Great question. But based on my very limited knowledge of it, I really have nothing good I could give you on that one. Look out, guys. Advanced decline's pulling back to positive 1,000. We haven't seen selling pressure like this in ages. So, Jay, as far as the signals, as far as the MACD, the only thing I'm using is just the 0 line. So 24, 52, 9 settings. And as long as we're above the 0 line, then that fits the criteria for a buy signal. Below the 0 line, criteria for the sell signal. Now, when you guys are watching me during the options room of the mastery, you're not going to see the MACD on my charts. I don't need it on the charts anymore because it goes into the indicator. But we are kind of playing around with the big 3 histogram as well. And Mike, awesome to hear it, man. Awesome to hear it. Kevin, good afternoon to you in Lakeland, Florida. I miss Florida, man. If I didn't have this whole reluctance to fly thing going on, I'd definitely try to make it down there a bit more often. My second favorite place in the world is Miami. I've only been once. I was only there for 4 days. But man, what a time. I don't vacation or get out much, guys, but when I do, I like to do it right. So I was a hot shot down there in Miami, getting my Will Smith on. And then my grandparents, they lived over in Longboat Key, Siesta Keys area for a long time. All right, guys, we keep getting to the chat here. Andrea, so let me do this. Let me send you guys a chart link. So just so I can share the chart link. Let me see. How do I want to do this? Let's get rid of those bad boys. Let's change the Squeeze Pro to the Squeeze. That way I don't get a slap on the wrist for sharing anything proprietary. Let's save this as MACD Squeeze. Keep the count in the channels and get rid of those bad boys. Booyah. So I'll put this in the alerts in the free room, and then I'll put it over in the chat for the socials here. All right, share flexible grid. That'll do. All right. Flex grid with TTM squeeze plus MACD. And then if we're talking about structure indicators, momentum indicators, we do have a sale going on for Memorial Day. I think it's on Simpler's Twitter page, and I'm sure y'all get some emails. But I do think next week for any classes, any indicators, they're doing like 30% off. So if you're looking for a momentum tool, a structure tool, you get a lot to pick from on the website. Or you go with the big three. I, of course, am very biased. All right, I'll put the chart link here in the chat for the social as well. All right, guys, a couple more questions, and I got to work on the newsletter. Netflix. You bad girl, you. Tesla, you're a bad boy. Mike is looking at some Roblox. All right, let me get my bearings about me again. There we go. The old Roboblocks. So here's what I love. Everyone's watching Tesla. Everyone's watching Netflix, AMD, NVIDIA, Google. Nobody's watching this dud. And I say dud respectfully because we want to find them when they're a bit more of a dud. Then we catch the good stuff. So this is not coming up on anybody's breakout scans, volume scans, 52-week high scans. But the 4 hour, the 1 hour, the 30-minute, and the 15 telling us things are shaping up here for the bulls on top of that daily 21. And then we got the ultimate combo, squeeze and the buy signal on the 1 hour chart. So I would trade this just like I would trade a daily squeeze. I'm going to sell my puts. I'm going to buy my calls. And my full expectation is the hourly squeeze fires to the upside. This comes back down, takes out the hourly 21. Wiping our hands of that trade. Rig. Take a look at the daily chart. I've traded rig once or twice. Yeah, big weekly squeeze setting up. Got a big 3-day squeeze setting up. Got a 2-day squeeze setting up. and a daily squeeze. So now the multi-million-dollar question would be, what is the path of least resistance? And for a bullish trade, that's where I want to see a couple more buy signals here. 30-minute, 15, 5-minute telling me might be a little bit easier to go lower for now. But again, this is when you want to find them. Like whether you're thinking long, whether you're thinking short, you don't want to think, hey, let's get long rig, 5 weeks from now up here. Nor do you want to short it 5 weeks from now down here at $4. This is where we start getting the work. And our whole job is just trying to put the odds in our favor of calling for that direction. But that's when you want to find them. That's when you want to find them. And Todd, for my indicator, it's Thinkorswim and TradingView for now. TOS and TV for now. Yeah, so SG2, mind you guys, it just kind of started off as just the arrows on the charts. But the whole bundle comes with the multi-time frame labels, the arrows, the color bars. It comes with the squeeze radar, so you can find your bull or your bear squeeze across any of these time frames. And we give you the code for this, so you can really do as many time frames as you want. Dump in your watch list, and then yes, the scans. I actually had the updated scans up earlier, but over time it's turned into a bit of a bundle, which I'm a fan of. An AM, unfortunately, because it is a proprietary indicator, I cannot share the script. But here's what I can tell you guys. I'm going to give you the, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's a good baseline buy signal. All right, look for something like this. Buy signal, price above 21 EMA and the 50 SMA plus MACD of the 0 line. And for a sell signal, and again, to be clear, this is not my buy or sell signal, but this puts you in the ballpark a bit. Sell signal would be price below 21 EMA and 50 SMA plus the MACD settings that I shared today plus MACD below 0. Not the actual big 3 buy or sell signal, but that's like the kind of the elementary version of it. So while I can't share the script for my indicator, throw on the MACD, throw on your 21 EMA and your 50 SMA, and then see how that works for you for a little bit. If you find that tends to point you in the right direction, then maybe take the big 3 for a test drive. MT, did the scans work in TradingView? I'm going to be honest with you, I've never tried to do a scan on TradingView. So frankly, I'm not sure if TradingView even offers scanning capabilities. I would imagine no, just because no one's ever asked me for a TradingView version of the scans. So it's a big part of the reason why I think we're trying to add more value to the simpler scanner. Because then it doesn't matter what platform you use. If you use the simpler scanner, then we can get everything on there for everybody. So I don't think you got anything for TradingView, unless I'm wrong. But hopefully sometime soon I can get my nested squeeze scans, the buy and the sell signal scans up on the website scan. Yeah, AM, exactly. So take that combo. All right, we're above the 21 EMA, we're above the 50 SMA, and MACD is above the 0 line. right? If I'm looking for a daily squeeze to fire to the upside, then I'm looking for that combination on the daily chart and then across as many lower time frames as possible. 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, daily chart. They all crank out that combination. Usually sets you up for a nice push. And then same thing for a short. Same thing for a short. Okay, Ben. Yeah, some basic scans. TradingView's got some beautiful charts. I'll give them credit there. Very visually appealing charts. But all right, guys and gals, I'm gonna let you go here. I got to go bang out the Friday newsletter video. But listen, for those of you listening on YouTube, come check us out over here in the free room. Just head over to simplertrading.com, and somewhere you should find a link to sign up for the free room. And that way you can keep rocking with me on Mondays, Wednesdays, and I think Tuesdays. And we can keep the squeeze party going. But I do appreciate your time over the last handful of Fridays. Hope you found all 3 of the lessons helpful. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Twitter at... I recently changed my Twitter name, so let me see what it is. It was Squeeze Magoo for a while, but they made me change it. I think it's just my name now. We're getting very basic over here. There's me and my doggo. What in the world is my Twitter handle? Taylor _Horton 24. So I'll shamelessly pop that in the chat here. Feel free to give me a holler on Twitter. And then, of course, on the Focus Trades YouTube, which, if you want to kind of stay up to date with my watch list, what squeezes are we looking for, what squeezes are we currently trading, that's outside of the rooms here at Simpler. That is the best spot to keep in touch. So one more shameless plug, and then we'll get this long weekend started. Again, guys, this weekend, take your structure indicators, take your momentum indicators, take your path of least resistance tools, and then do some good chart study. Say your favorite trade is a 30-minute squeeze. Your goal should be to get, a couple hundred, a couple thousand hours under your belt studying 30-minute squeeze after 30-minute squeeze. What do they look like when they work? What do they look like when they fail? The more you become familiar with that, I think the more it's going to help out your trading. But y'all have a good weekend. Please be safe. Make sure you take your dog for a couple of extra walks. And then I'll tell you guys what, since we're off on Monday, that means unfortunately no pre-market prep stream. So sometime afternoon, I'll get a video uploaded to the YouTube channel, kind of tightening up the watch list for the week ahead. Alrighty? But thank y'all. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Adios.